America 2025. We're living in uncertain times. Inflation is still eating away at our wallets, AI is taking over countless jobs, and the financial markets swing like a roller coaster. Every day, experts release new predictions, but have you noticed? 99% of them turn out to be wrong. In Same as Ever, Morgan Housel reminds us of a simple yet profound truth. The forces that truly shape the future aren't the surprises, but the things that never change. Greed, fear, patience, and the pursuit of happiness. These are the timeless building blocks of human behavior. If you understand and live by these unchanging rules, you don't need to predict the future. You can stay steady through chaos, make better decisions, and move further ahead than most people ever will. So, let's dive into 6 Same as Ever lessons, principles that anyone who wants lasting wealth and success needs to master. And if you find value in what I share, don't forget to hit subscribe so you will always get the best book summaries to help you invest smarter and live freer. Part 1. People always repeat the same mistakes. Human history, if you look closely, plays like a tape on repeat. Technology may change, governments may change, financial markets may swing up and down, but human nature stays almost the same. We're greedy when times are good, and we panic when crisis strikes. Morgan Housel emphasizes this. The biggest danger isn't that we don't know history, it's that we refuse to believe it will repeat itself. Every generation thinks it's different, that this time is unique, but look back and the patterns are obvious. In 1929, the stock market bubble in America burst. Before the crash, millions of people poured money into stocks simply because everyone else seemed to be getting rich overnight. Prices were no longer tied to real company profits, but to a frenzy of speculation. The result? A total collapse. Millions of families wiped out. 70 years later, in 2000, history repeated itself in the dot-com bubble. New internet companies, many without a single dollar of profit, were valued in the billions. Investors believed the internet would change everything, and they were right, but they also believed every dot-com company would succeed, and that was wrong. When the bubble burst, stock prices tanked and many companies disappeared overnight. Once again, greed had drowned out reason. Look at the present and you'll see the same pattern. In 2021, the crypto market exploded. Not just Bitcoin and Ethereum, but a flood of meme coins like Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, and countless others popped up like mushrooms after rain. People didn't buy them for real value, they bought them hoping to wake up rich 100 times over. A lucky few cashed out, but most got stuck and lost nearly all their savings. Real estate tells a similar story. After the pandemic, housing prices in the US skyrocketed, pushing many to take on huge debt just to flip properties for quick profit. But within a few years, interest rates soared, the market slowed, and families were left drowning in debt, paying off houses that no longer held their expected value. Put all these stories side by side, and the truth is clear. Human nature hasn't changed. Tulips in 17th century Holland, stocks in 1929, dot-coms in 2000, housing in 2008, meme coins and meme stocks today. It's always the same lesson, just with new names and forms. The scary part is, our memory of financial pain is very short. After each collapse, a few quiet years pass, wounds fade, and we dive headfirst into the next bubble. Morgan Housel calls this the unchanging psychological cycle of human behavior. It begins with greed, followed by risk, collapse, panic, forgetting, and then greed again. That's why the phrase, same as ever, always rings true. Technology may change how we invest, whether in stocks, real estate, or crypto, but human emotions have never changed. And here's the real danger. This cycle has no ending. It will repeat itself again and again. The only question you need to ask is, in the next round, will you be a victim or the rare person who stays clear-eyed and stands apart?
Part 2. Time is the greatest asset.
In life, we can measure almost everything: the money in our bank account, the value of our home, the number of stocks we own. But there's one thing more important than all of that, something no one can measure precisely: time. And ironically, this most valuable asset is also the one we waste the most. Morgan Housel reminds us, money can be lost and earned back, but time only moves in one direction. Young people often trade time for money. The wealthy, after many years, are willing to spend huge amounts of money just to buy a little more time. But that's a product you won't find in a supermarket, a stock exchange, or from anyone willing to sell. When it comes to investing, the secret isn't finding a miracle deal, it's giving your investments enough time for compounding to do its magic. A great example is the American 401k retirement plan. Ordinary workers, even with modest incomes, can contribute a small portion of their salary consistently over decades. By the time they retire, many have built million-dollar portfolios. Not through tricks, not through luck, but simply because time was on their side. In business, Jeff Bezos once said, "If you invest and want results within 1 year, you'll be competing with countless others. But if you're willing to wait 7 to 10 years, there will be almost no competition left." That long-term vision and patience with time helped Amazon grow from a small online bookstore into a global empire. Even in health, time is the deciding factor. A healthy diet or exercise routine won't transform you in a week, but practiced consistently for years, it changes the quality and length of your life. The same principle applies to money. One smart decision today, repeated over and over, creates extraordinary results in 10 or 20 years. The tragedy is that most of us act as if time is unlimited. We delay investing, we delay learning new skills, we delay making important choices, and only later do we realize the real asset we lost wasn't money, it was time, and time never comes back. Housel emphasizes, once you shift your perspective and see time as your greatest asset, you start living differently. You value each day more. You choose what truly matters. You learn to say no to the meaningless. In finance, that means giving up the obsession with getting rich quick, and instead building a solid path where time becomes your most powerful ally. Because in the end, time isn't just what measures age, it's the ultimate lever that can turn an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. And perhaps only when sitting in a nursing home, looking back, do we fully understand our biggest regret isn't how much money we lost, but how much time we let slip away. Part 3. Simplicity always beats complexity. In both finance and life, people are often seduced by complexity. We believe that the more formulas, analytical tools, and complicated jargon we use, the better the results will be. But Morgan Housel points out a paradoxical truth. It's simplicity, not complexity, that creates lasting advantage. You can see this in the way many people approach investing. They pour money into financial products with flashy names, like multi-strategy hedge funds, complex derivatives, or secretive algorithmic trading models. They assume that the more complicated something sounds, the higher the returns must be. But history shows the opposite. Most of those complicated vehicles collapse the moment markets turn volatile. Meanwhile, simple strategies, like buying and holding stocks in great companies or steadily investing in an S&P 500 index fund, have allowed millions of ordinary investors to outperform the so-called experts. Simplicity doesn't mean being careless. It means focusing on the essentials, on what truly matters. As Warren Buffett once said, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. Investing is not a game where the smartest guy wins. He built a fortune worth hundreds of billions, not through financial tricks, but through principles so simple they almost sound boring. Buy good businesses, hold them for the long run, and avoid big mistakes. Housel argues that it's human psychology that complicates everything. We resist the idea that something so simple could actually work. Take exercise. Just 30 minutes of brisk walking every day can dramatically improve your health. Yet people chase miracle weight loss hacks, extreme diets, or magic pills for faster results. In finance, the same thing happens. Instead of saving and investing consistently, people look for shortcuts and usually fall into traps. Here's another key point. Simplicity makes it easier to stick with your plan. The more complex a strategy, the more moving parts it has, and the faster you'll lose confidence when markets get shaky. But when you fully understand the simplicity of your approach, you'll have the conviction to stay the course. That conviction, not some complex formula, is what carries you through crises. Look beyond finance for proof. Steve Jobs was famous for saying, "Simple is the ultimate sophistication." The iPhone didn't succeed because it crammed in endless confusing features. It succeeded because it was streamlined, intuitive, and easy for anyone to use. In investing, as in life, the hardest thing isn't making things complicated. It's keeping them simple but powerful. Finally, simplicity protects you from the illusion of control. Markets will always be full of variables far beyond our reach. But when you focus on the basics, saving, spending wisely, and investing long-term, you take charge of what's truly under your control. And that is the strongest edge you can have. Housel's lesson here is crystal clear. In a world that grows more complicated every day, those who keep their decisions simple will always hold the advantage. Because in the end, it's simplicity that lets us go further, last longer, and stay safer.
Part 4. People underrate patience. In today's fast-paced world, patience feels like a luxury. People want to get rich fast, succeed fast, lose weight in 7 days, or build a career in just a few months. But Morgan Housel stresses this. Almost everything of real value in life takes time, and most failures happen because people underestimate the power of patience. Take investing, for example. Many investors don't lose money because they picked the wrong stocks, but because they lack the patience to hold them. The market always swings. A few days of losses, and they panic sell, only to watch those same stocks multiply in value later. Meanwhile, those who understand long-term value quietly hold on, and they're the ones who reap the rewards. The power of patience is also written into the fortunes of billionaires. Warren Buffett once said, "I'm wealthy not because I'm smarter than others, but because I've lived longer and investing than most." He started investing at age 11, and the majority of his multi-hundred-billion-dollar fortune came only in recent decades, thanks to the compounding effect of time. If Buffett had quit halfway or kept changing strategies out of impatience, the world might never have known his name. A lack of patience doesn't just destroy finances, it eats away at happiness. Social media fuels constant comparison. Friends buying new cars, traveling luxuriously, achieving success early. People start feeling left behind, increasingly discontent. What they don't see is that everyone runs on a different clock. Early success doesn't guarantee staying power. Patience is what decides who lasts. Sports make this clear too. An athlete might rise quickly after a breakout season, but only those who train consistently for years become legends. Lasting success always requires steady accumulation, small, repeated efforts over a long time. In daily life, impatience traps us as well. You start learning a new skill, writing, coding, investing. After a few weeks with little progress, you give up. Yet if you had stayed patient for a few years, that skill could have become a life-changing advantage. Morgan Housel reminds us, patience isn't just a virtue, it's an asset. It acts like a shield, protecting you from impulsive decisions and from getting swept up in crowd psychology. Markets may swing day to day, month to month, but in the long run, real value reveals itself. All you need is the patience to wait. And remember, patience isn't passive. It's not sitting still, doing nothing. Patience means working hard every day, while accepting that great results take time. You plant the seed today, water it consistently, and wait for it to grow, blossom, and bear fruit. There's no shortcut for that. People often underrate patience because we live in a world that glorifies speed. But look back, and you'll see, patience is what separates those who burn out quickly from those who leave a lasting mark. Part 5. Risk and surprise are the only constants. If there's one unchanging rule in both finance and life, it's this. Risk and surprise will always be part of the picture, no matter how carefully we prepare. Morgan Housel emphasizes that people often believe the future can be forecasted through data, charts, or trends. But reality proves otherwise.
The biggest events usually come from the places we least expect. Take a look back over the past few decades. Hardly anyone predicted the 9/11 attacks, yet they reshaped global security and economic policy. Few imagined the COVID-19 pandemic, but it put the world on pause for nearly 2 years, disrupted supply chains, rocked stock markets, and completely changed how we work, learn, and connect. These events reveal a hard truth. Surprises aren't the exception, they're the rule. In finance, risk often hides in the blind spots. A financial crisis never comes from the areas everyone is already watching. It emerges from the shadows. Hidden debts, complex financial products, or seemingly harmless links in the system. Think of the 2008 crash, triggered by subprime mortgages, something most everyday investors never even considered a threat. The key point Housel makes is this: you can't eliminate risk. What you can do is accept that it's always there. Whether you're investing in the stock market, buying a house, starting a business, or even choosing a stable career, risk is built into the decision. The difference isn't in avoiding risk, but in preparing yourself to survive when it shows up. A smart strategy is always to keep a margin of safety. Never bet everything on a single outcome. Wise investors don't just plan for good times, they prepare for the bad as well. It's like driving. You can't control whether someone else causes an accident, but you can buckle your seatbelt and keep a safe distance to minimize the damage. Life works the same way. You may map out the next 5 or 10 years in detail, but unexpected detours will come. Health issues, career changes, family turning points. Instead of resisting them, it's better to accept that surprise is built into the game. What truly matters is adaptability, the ability to keep going when the unexpected strikes. Housel points out that if you look at history, the only thing that's truly the same as ever is uncertainty. Risk never disappears, it only changes form. The threats of the last century, wars, inflation, oil crises, may look different today. Climate change, trade wars, or AI reshaping the job market, but the essence remains. Surprises will always come, and people will always be surprised by them.
Part 6. Happiness comes from enough, not comparison. In today's world, people have more than any generation before them. Smartphones, supermarkets overflowing with goods, global connectivity, services available at the tap of a finger. Yet the paradox is this: even with more, we're not necessarily happier. Why? Because we constantly measure our worth by looking at others. Morgan Housel highlights a hard truth. Happiness doesn't come from how much you have, it comes from feeling that what you have is enough. The problem is that people fall easily into the trap of comparison, and comparison has no finish line. Picture someone earning $100,000 a year. In many places, that's a dream income. But if he lives next to friends making twice as much, his own earnings suddenly feel small. The number hasn't changed, but his sense of satisfaction has, simply because he looked sideways. The same thing happens in investing. Someone who earns a 10% return in a year has every reason to celebrate. It's far better than the average bank interest. But the moment they see someone bragging about doubling their account with a hot stock or a lucky meme coin, their joy evaporates, replaced with disappointment and envy. Here's the trap. There will always be someone richer than you. There will always be a better deal you missed. There will always be some easy success out there making you feel behind. If you keep comparing, you'll never win, because this game has no end. Morgan Housel shares that one of the world's wealthiest individuals once admitted, after a certain point, money doesn't make me happier. It only makes me compare myself more. And that's the tragedy of chasing the infinite. True happiness comes when you set boundaries on desire. Once you have enough to live comfortably, care for your family, and sleep at night without debt weighing on you, more money doesn't add joy, it only adds stress. Remember, not everyone with more is happier, but those who know when to stop are certainly more at peace. You can probably see this in everyday life. A middle-class family that manages expenses wisely and spends time together can be far happier than a wealthy family buried under the pressure of maintaining a luxurious lifestyle. Someone driving an old car but loving their work and friends can be more content than someone in a sports car who feels utterly alone. And in the end, when you're sitting in a nursing home, you won't be comparing who had more money or who bought the bigger house. What you'll think about is whether your life felt meaningful, whether you cherished the simple things, and whether you gave enough time to the people you loved. So what's the lesson? Don't let your happiness be defined by others. Don't let a number or a comparison steal your peace. Happiness comes from a sense of enough, from being able to smile at what you already have instead of obsessing over what you haven't yet achieved. Morgan Housel reminds us that while the world is constantly changing, human nature stays almost the same. Greed, fear, patience, and the sense of enough, they repeat themselves over and over again. The truly smart person isn't the one who predicts the future, but the one who understands these timeless truths and learns to live wisely within them. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit like and subscribe to join me on this journey of exploring books that can change the way you think about money and life. And don't forget to share it with a friend, because chances are they might need to hear this too.